Welcome to Trial Site News Podcast Series. We are excited to have a clinical team here with us today from XBiotech. We have Clinical Operations Manager Ashley Otero and three of their clinical research coordinators, Ashley Salinas, Mark McFall, and Yasmin Aguirre. We will be discussing the exciting progress and news surrounding their Hidradenitis Suppurativa clinical trial, including an opportunity for those interested in participating. So Ashley, before we deep dive into our topic today, if you would, share with us what got you into working for XBiotech.
Hi, yeah, sure. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I think that the main driver for working here was the innovation in this company. This company has innovated in everything that it does, from the manufacturing of our drugs to the research and development of our therapeutics to even the way we conduct our clinical trials. So I think that that's definitely a great aspect of working here. You know, I think that at the end of the day, we're treating patients with very severe diseases, so that's very rewarding. You know, we're not only looking to treat them effectively, but also safely. So the safety profile of our drugs is unlike any other. You know, our true human technology, our antibodies are 100% derived from the human immune system, and so the safety profile is unprecedented. So I think that, you know, being able to treat patients, like I said, effectively, but also safely with these, you know, devastating diseases is a really rewarding place to work.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ashley. Now, turning now to our questions we have here, we had several requests from our audience suffering from hidradenitis suppurativa to do a follow-up with XBiotech about your study using bermekimab to treat patients with moderate to severe HS. So on that note, how is the study progressing and what phase would you be in now?
Hi, this is Ashley Otero, and I'll be answering that. So the study in HS, our currently planned study, is going very well. It's a phase 2 study. We already have completed 2 previous studies in HS, and we're very excited to continue to advance this program and hopefully get this drug to patients in the market as soon as possible. We are planning 60 clinical sites in the U.S. and Europe for this study, and you know, we're close to that with sites right now and currently recruiting patients. So we're really grateful to be able to participate in this podcast and hopefully get some patients interested in participating in this study.
I hope so too. It's exciting. Now, what makes your biologic different than, say, other clinical sponsor pipelines? Yeah,
and I think I briefly touched on this in the previous answer, but unlike previous generations of antibody therapies, XBiotech's true human antibodies are 100% human-derived from the human body, from individuals who possess natural immunity to various diseases. With discovering clinical programs across multiple disease areas, which I know we'll get into later, our antibody therapies have the potential to harness the body's natural immunity to fight all these diseases with a much increased safety profile, efficacy, and tolerability in the human body. And so our broad pipeline of true human antibodies, like I said, are able to deliver unmatched safety and efficacy because they are cloned directly from individual donors who possess natural immunity against certain targeted diseases, and that's not being done at any other company. And so these antibodies that we have retain their natural physiology and tolerance profile, and they've passed the rigors of immune selection in the body. So that's what makes them so safe. Bermekimab that we're talking about today in the HS study, it specifically targets and neutralizes a cytokine called interleukin-1 alpha. And this molecule is known to promote angiogenesis, growth and spread of tumors, which I know we'll talk about later in cancer, and then mediate symptoms related to an array of diseases. Clinical results that we have discovered a primary role for IL-1 alpha in activating peripheral nerves in the skin, which cause a great deal of pain and itch. And pain and itch is a debilitating symptoms of hidradenitis suppurativa. So we're hoping to be able to have great results in the study based on that.
Gotcha. Now, how did XBiotech get started in trying to find a solution for hidradenitis suppurativa? What is the firm's connection to this debilitating condition?
Hey, Adrian, this is Mark McFall. I'll take lead on that one.
Sounds good.
Answer to that question is actually serendipity. Charles Dinarello, MD, he was a doctor who first discovered interleukin-1. He's known as the godfather of interleukin-1, if you will.
Oh, wow.
And he told our president and CEO, John Simard, of a scientist who had interest in investigating Hidradenitis Suppurativa. Dr. Dinarello then connected John with Dr. Evangelos Giamarellis-Borboulis. He's an MD in Greece. Dr. Giamarellis-Borboulis wanted to support XBiotech and examine the role of interleukin-1 alpha in HS and see if our interleukin-1 alpha antibody could have efficacy in treating this disease. That led to him conducting a physician-sponsored study with bermekimab in treating HS, and the results of that were that we saw good efficacy in the treatment, and it was very safe for all the patients enrolled in that trial. So we've been continuing to pursue this indication, and Dr. Giamarellis-Borboulis is actually going to be coming on board for our next phase in this next study we're enrolling for currently. So we'll have sites in Greece as well.
Oh, wow. Now, how does XBiotech go about finding participants for HS-focused trials?
Hi, Adrian. This is Yasmin.
Hi.
So we find participants by reaching out to dermatologists around the U.S. and Europe that have a good track record treating patients with HS. So they already have a patient population. Once we have their sites on board, each site has their preferred method of advertising, whether it's radio, Facebook, or any type of social media or whatever they prefer.
Now, as we know, most autoimmune issues travel in pairs or more. With that in mind, do you have any crossover study cases for psoriasis using bermekimab?
This is Ashley Otero. So I think that I kind of touched on this earlier, but we do have a study that is being launched in atopic dermatitis. It's going to be similar size and scope of the HS study. And we've also done previous study in psoriasis. We've also done other dermatology studies in acne and pyoderma gangrenosum. These were all smaller studies, and these were kind of introductory trials in dermatology for us. So the dosing was extremely low and infrequent, but we still showed good results in those studies. So there's definitely an opportunity to further advance those indications in the future.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned earlier about the serendipity of HS and how that came to be. With autoimmune issues in general on the rise, has this become an area of focus, or is this an area of focus for XBiotech?
Adrian, this is Mark again. I'll follow up on that question as well. Yes, so we at XBiotech think that interleukin-1 alpha is a target that could have broad application in a wide variety of autoimmune diseases. So short answer, yes. Inflammatory diseases and autoimmunity is definitely an area that we're focusing on here at XBiotech.
That's great, because we have a lot of folks in our audience who are highly interested in HS and other autoimmune issues. And when I look at the articles that people are reading, seeing both from doctors and patients, and just in general, it's great to see what you guys are doing. We've been watching from our end, and it's great to see. Now, moving on here, do you have any other trials or studies happening right now that involve finding a solution for HS, psoriasis, or other autoimmune issues?
This is Ashley Otero. Happy to answer that. So we currently actually have a physician-sponsored study that is actually being conducted by Dr. Giamarellos that Mark mentioned earlier at his site. And it is to evaluate bermekimab in scleroderma. So that's actually ramping up right now. It's a 20-patient study. And so, yeah, we're really excited about that. And I think we're also looking and always looking for other autoimmune diseases because of, the broad potential of IL-1 alpha blockade with bermekimab. I think there's a lot of opportunity in other indications. Unfortunately, we can't pursue everything at once, but, we're always looking for opportunities. And actually, just to add, oncology has been a big indication for us. We've had phase 2 and phase 3 studies, and we actually see that as an autoimmune disease. The inflammatory response that occurs as a result of tumor growth is injurious. This inflammatory response is supportive of tumor growth and spread and is a large part of cancer progression we see. So bermekimab is actually a unique way to harness the body's own ability to fight, this inflammation that's associated with cancer.
Right. Now, on that same vein, what trials and outcomes is XBiotech most excited about?
Hey, Adrian, this is Ashley Salinas. So I think we're really excited about all of the upcoming clinical trials and outcomes. It's really interesting to us to see this approach of targeting inflammation caused by IL-1 alpha being beneficial in so many applications and diseases and different indications. And it's always rewarding. It's great when we talk to our clinical site coordinators or physicians, and they tell us how great their patients are doing, and they're seeing a lot of improvement.
Now, can you tell us about what your pipeline looks like? We've mentioned different trials here. Are there any additional or trials that you want to talk about more that the audience should be aware of in areas that you're looking at?
Yeah, hey, Adrian. Yeah, this is Mark again. Yeah, absolutely. So as Ashley Otero touched on earlier, oncology is definitely a big area that we're focusing in on. We actually currently, bermekimab is in a physician-sponsored clinical trial to treat pancreatic cancer. It's shown good efficacy in the past in treating acne vulgaris and plaque psoriasis as well. Although, as Ashley also mentioned, when we were getting into those trials, it was when we were just starting out in dermatology, and the dosing we were working with was extremely low, not very frequent. But we've made recent improvements in the dosing of bermekimab. We've changed the formulation a little bit. And we have some pretty good safety data to show that our weekly dosing with 400 to 800 milligrams of bermekimab is more efficacious and just as safe as our lower dosages. So we fully expect to enter back into those indications in the future and see even better results in those trials. Let's see, I think beyond that we have a couple other physician-sponsored studies going on right now. Type 2 diabetes is something we're looking at. A few other kinds of cancer we're interested. Peripheral vascular disease, and as Ashley mentioned before, we had looked at pyoderma gangrenosum, and I think that's something we're interested in revisiting in the future.
Excellent.
Beyond bermekimab, we have other true human biologics in our pipeline. Our treatment for Staphylococcus aureus infection has shown pretty good efficacy in the clinic. We're currently developing treatments for C. diff, influenza, and herpes zoster, also known as chickenpox. So we're pretty excited about all the things we got going on in the pipeline, and we're really looking at a lot of different indications right now.
Now, what is the average timeline for XBiotech to go from research, trials, and approval to commercial sale of a drug?
Hi, it's Ashley Otero. So that's a really good question. As with everything else, there's really not a straight answer, unfortunately, but it kind of depends on the indication. Biotech, as I was kind of mentioning in my first response, that the innovation that the company has, based on that, we have the ability to perform research and clinical trials much more quickly and efficiently than what you would call your big pharma companies. So the timelines for that aspect is really short. But, once, and even our clinical studies, I'd say we can do those with relative efficiency. But then, unfortunately, it kind of is out of our hands. It goes to the regulators. And so at that point, we have to potentially conduct additional clinical studies. And so it just depends on the regulators at that point.
Right. They can kind of spider out. Now, for our audience, can you tell them about any open trials that XBiotech is looking for participants for?
Sure. Right now, we are currently looking for patients if they're 18 and older with moderate to severe disease for both HS and atopic dermatitis. So all they need to do is email clinicaltrials@xbiotech.com with some of their information and where they're located, and then a coordinator will be in touch with them about how they can find a site near them.
Gotcha. And you said HS and what else?
Atopic dermatitis.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, guys. This was an enlightening experience, and we're all excited here at Trial Site News to see how this continues to develop. For those of you in the audience interested in participating with XBiotech's clinical trial, you can contact them directly at clinicaltrials@xbiotech.com, and the links will be provided in the description below. You can also find Trial Site News on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The links will be also provided in the description below. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and to our audience, we'll see you next time.